Welcome everybody in this webinar together with Victor today. I think that we still need to wait a couple of minutes to dive into, let's say, the practicalities because, well, some people still need to tune in, but I already see that we are at roughly 10 to 15 participants, so that's good to see. Short intro from my side. My name is Robin Hoogstraten. I'm a regional manager Benelux, and I'm here today with Victor Bezoekli, which is going to tell you a little bit more about the round of smart nanotubes and of course the business of smart nanotubes. So let me quickly introduce the webinar. We are organizing this webinar because we have, of course, an active round at the Seedblink platform. We are currently targeting a fund raise for smart nanotubes of in total 600K, of which 400K already has been pre-committed by the investors which invested before in smart nanotubes and some new investors joining the round. And we already raised 50K of commitments through the Seedblink platform of new people joining. We got some questions from people, which made us think that it would be wise to organize this pitch Q&A so people can actually ask the questions if they have any questions.
And welcome everybody to this webinar. I'm Victor Bezoekli. I'm the CEO of Smart Nanotubes Technologies and also CTO and co-founder of this company. And today my goal is not to go again about the details of the company or technology, but rather we got several questions on the business case side and also about scale up and where we see the future of our technology. We have created a technology, electronic nodes, which can be used really for mass market applications. And why? Because it is production is relatively low cost, and it's very scalable. And we use one hardware platform for different applications, so we don't need to adapt for every application the hardware platform again. So this is done rather by customizing our machine learning-based software, which is actually mimics the function of our brain in cooperation with our nodes. So we teach our hardware platform to sniff some particular smells and actually report about this smells identification. So, of course, one can immediately say that it can be used in many applications, but we need to choose those markets where we believe we can be the most successful. And there are, of course, many different trade-offs to do to understand which market segment is the most potentially successful for us. Though looking on many markets and having also development in few markets, we focus currently on two markets where we have the most advanced technical solution and also the constellation of partners and potential clients, and also partners for future scale up. And those are smart buildings, where we have chosen first smart care part. And we have planned with our partner company how many devices were feasible to install, just taking about their customer base. And with them, only just based on this number, we can end up with 8 million in revenues in a few years. And if we scale in the whole world market, so it's reasonable to come to 40 million in revenues per year. But this is not all. So in smart building, we can relatively easy extend to complementary use cases. So maybe you not see this complementarity immediately, but as I already mentioned, for us, with relatively little effort, we can adapt our solution to other use cases. For instance, quite natural adaptation for smart care solution, not in nursing home, but in homes, actually, where there's mobile serving. And there also air quality monitoring and ventilation control. So, and also cleaning, for instance, the toilets or some other public entities. And also in parallel, which is not directly connected, but also falls into building management, is fire prevention, which we develop also intensively. Next interesting segment where we will start. Also smart mobility, where the fires caused by lithium-ion batteries may really have a big issue with the time. More cars, more bikes, e-bikes are on the road. And there we have absolute outstanding solution for this. So let me just present you the market. So again, the top-down calculation. So in 2030, there will be 27 billion market for battery management systems, where powered sensor is quite natural component. And for lithium ion, it will stand out to 12 millions, and we target 2% of this market, which is almost 200 millions in 2030. Here, even with relatively low cost for module installs, it's about 10 euros. So we still can address only in wallbox market. We can target 1.5 million with this client and almost 5 million revenues with within this market segment, just Europe. But this is very, very beginning. Yeah, there are not big numbers, they're just wall boxes. But when we add e-bikes and electric cars, there will be much larger numbers. I think I was in time here, and this was quite short overview of our plans, just maybe even flashing of some numbers. And of course, I expect you have more questions, and I'm really happy to answer them.
Thank you very much, Victor. I think that was indeed right in time. So good that we at least covered the most important market segments. I already have one question which I would like to ask to you by one of the attendants. It's about the valuation cap. So if I read out the question, then we can see if you can answer that one, Victor. The question is: tell us a bit about how you've reached the valuation cap for the loan. If that one is close to what you think your current valuation is, then given a realistic 100 million exit, the potential of the proposition seems pretty low. Can you enlighten a little bit on that perspective? So the valuation cap of the convertible.
Yeah, valuation cap is currently 12 millions per money. And this is based on our, of course, development and what we have as a current customer base and cooperation partners. And what I have shown you is really what we plan to achieve in these two market segments. But as I mentioned, there are further market segments which are developed, so they are not today so mature as these two. And I decided didn't present many details there, not to overload, so to say. But this is actually the goal of our A round. So when so the goal for the A round is really to be able to address this also very, very highly potential market in food processing and healthcare, where we have partners, we have technical feasibility demonstration.
What would be in your expectations then, let's say the value at potential exit? Because here in the question it's hinted towards a realistic 100 million exit. Would you think that will be, you will able to come up with a higher exit, so a higher valuation at exit, or what's your take on that?
Actually, one shouldn't underestimate this technology itself. So it's not just playing with these numbers of a market size and more potential revenues. So this is a so generic technology, which we did for the first time, right, as I explained this. Imagine what if we would have no cameras, and now the first camera would be invented. So can you estimate how high is potential of using this camera? So this is another technology of digitization of human senses, yeah, like seeing sense with cameras, like hearing sense with microphones. This is smelling sense digitization. So this is so huge potential behind this, and also with our technical realization how we do this now, and potential to scale down the size of our technology so that it will fit into the mobile devices, like cameras now fit also in smartphones. So this opens so large market segments. So I believe there will be, after several years of our development, we already put our products, our first products on the market, and one, people will see the potential of this technology. So currently it's, one can say, a bit hidden because we have just demonstrators and not many people have tried it, but when we already have the product on the market, it will be very different.
Then, with respect to this current round, Victor, of course, we have still 2 weeks where we are trying to, let's say, to get the bridge funded to the maximum amount, if possible. With this current bridge, if you would take a look at the runway of the company, you told that the A round is last end of this year, beginning of next year. What would be the runway with the current bridge into the round, if you won't take into account, let's say, this follow-on investment?
So currently we have middle of next year, but we may have even longer because we will do negotiation about energy cost coverage exactly in the smart industry and food processing segment. So this might add another half a year probably. But at least to the middle of next year, we are quite safe.
Okay, so then with the current talks for the A round, you have enough time to indeed get towards the closing of this round. At this point in time, I don't see any questions from the audience, Victor. So maybe I have one, let's say, last question from my side, and that's that. Of course, we got some questions on the platform regarding the, let's say, the business case and the commercial feasibility of it. And you've highlighted the 4 markets now, which are on the screen: so smart building, smart mobility, industry, and health. I think it's also interesting to see if people might be able to add any, let's say, suggestions to where the electronic nose could be used. So in one of our first pitches, Alain actually challenged the crowd and the people to come up with crazy ideas of where the technology can be used. Of course, this still holds because it's a fairly new technology. There might be, let's say, industries or markets which you haven't thought of, or which might be tremendously big in terms of potential. So if people have any suggestions, then of course feel free to put them in. I do get one question in the meantime now, and that's, let me read it out. So thank you for the question. It's, what is the effort/cost/time required to train the device to recognize a new smell?
Yeah, thank you. This is really a good question, which also shows the strengths of our technology. So just to give you a bit feeling, for a single gas sensor to develop new from scratch, it takes several years, so up to 10 years effort to really start from hardware development, a really good sensor with little cross sensitivity to other gases. So in our case, we already developed the hardware platform, which is generic to some extent. What we can further develop is maybe some particular dimensions to fit into some device, but this is really done on a generic level very quickly. The training is, of course, this is the most important part of our development. But this doesn't take 10 years to come to the next variant of the project, of the product. So this is within 1 year. So this is a good estimation. So from that time, we showed feasibility in some pilot project to we can already deploy first say, product prototype validation, getting the feedback from the users, how they find, and then maybe tune on the software level, usability, yeah, this way. So the development is for sure within 12 months and maybe less. So depending how we organize, and also efforts can be very different. So we prefer deploying of our prototypes as soon as possible and gathering the measurement data. So we're sourcing data that goes actually to our cloud, and then we have access to this data, and the rest which is done is data analysis, data processing, machine learning training. So we have no, so we try to have less engineering efforts in terms of our own installations or going somewhere far away. So usually we already have experience how we have to prepare the prototype, that it can be easily installed, and know what should be taken into account by the installation, and connection to the cloud via Wi-Fi, for instance, and then we just source the data. This is how we usually develop, at least now. So I'm not talking, of course, about mobile devices. It's a bit different, but what we have in the case of stationary devices is first as well.
Okay, so let's say the effort/time would be within a year to recognize new smell. As a follow-up question I get from this, Victor, is how specific can the device be trained? And then to be more, let's say, specific on that, is it possible to use the device to replace dedicated gas sensors, like sensors for CO, CO2, O2, NH4, etc.?
Oh, this last question is what we always have to answer. So this is not the goal to replace existing sensors. First of all, these technologies which are already on the market, they of course already optimized since many years. They found their application scenario and market segments, and that's good. So what we actually propose to on the market is absolutely new solution. Never existed within single gas sensors. So it was already proven that combining single gas sensor one cannot end up with true electronic nose. So we actually provide absolutely new technology, which cannot be even compared to single gas sensors. This is why. So potentially we could. And maybe several years back, we already thought about the possibility to replace some single gas sensors just because we had higher sensitivity, potentially lower price. But then we understood that we have even more attractive markets than this single gas when we provide complete solution. So in case of a single gas sensor, that it will be just a component, and the value, so we will be quite low in the value chain. In the case of smell-driven solutions, we are in a higher position because we provide already a solution. So a solution which can be used for triggered services, for instance. And so it will give you reliable information, let's say in product quality. Yeah, this cannot be, so mainly cannot be realized with single gas sensors. So in the best case, there will be such huge boxes which are gas chromatography in combination with mass spectrometry. This will be cannot compete with it, but this just one device was about 50,000 euro, so, and also needs a trained personnel to use it. And we provide small sensor which already gives information about detected smell. It's not just gas. We shouldn't underestimate and think that we can detect smells with single gas detectors.
Okay, so then let's say if I quickly summarize, it's indeed it can be trained really specific, and it is possible to replace dedicated cast sensors, but it's not the focus because there are already dedicated cast sensors there. The full solution which you guys offer is more interesting for the mass market, but there is the possibility to replace them. Um, I do get a follow-up question on that as well, but first I quickly want to dive into another question we got, and that's how long it roughly takes for the device to detect a smell in, for instance, the elderly care example after it occurs. And then as a follow-up question is how relevant the distance is for the sensor, and does it increase cubic when approaching the source of the smell? So first would be how long it would roughly take to detect the smell in this elderly care example.
Yeah, how long and how distant is actually one can combine, because actually this is about concentration. So of course, or intensity of the smell. So at the position of the detector. So this is also defines the time and the distance. So in case of elderly care case, this is we need time for diffusion of the smell. Of course, so smell should first reach the detector with sufficient intensity, so to say. This here it takes several minutes. Say this. In cases where the detector can be placed exactly at the source, so where we have no delay on diffusion of the smell, so the recognition may take time within a few seconds. So this is really so the technology, when machine learning model is trained, it takes into account also the typical picture, typical features, how the smell is developing, and already can pick out these specific features in the very first seconds.
Okay, so it's indeed it's fast. It's within minutes if it would be not really close to the source, but there,
Exactly.
and within seconds if it's really close to the source. So it increases when approaching the source of the smell, the let's say the time in which it in the end will recognize the smell. I think for the elderly care example, I do remember correctly, Victor, correct me if I'm wrong, that in a elderly home within the room you will install multiple sensors to also make sure that you have the best possible detection method for the smells, right?
I think it's more to scale up, so to say. Of course, one can put on the bed, and then in this case, there will be just patients who are always lying and taken good care. But the majority of elderly people, they still are mobile, so they either can go and sit in their chairs or rolling chairs. They'll be rolled also to meeting rooms, common rooms, or what always we so also what we heard from people working there, so toilets, so they can go to the toilets, but they can leave after that a lot of dirt, so maybe not always. And it makes sense really to put one at the bed, one at the chair, one at the toilet. Then it's kind of covered the whole room, and it can be used for many patients, not just to those who spend most of the time in the bed. And I think this is really important, especially in elderly homes, because Lyme patients are not so many, but all elderly, so many elderly people may have these problems, and no one like that they will be not well treated because of that, so late treated.
Yeah, let us sum up. I think it was a clear story on the potential, the let's say focus markets of the company, and where you want to be, let's say, with this funding round and with the next funding round. So I want to thank you for elaborating upon these, let's say, these points. Also to the attendance of this webinar, thank you for asking your questions. I think there are some people which are a little bit aware of the market, so that's always good to see. If you want to know anything more or you want to see some more elaboration, of course, feel free to reach out to either me or Victor. You can reach out to me via Seedblink. You can reach out to Victor by either asking questions on the platform or drop me a note or contact Victor directly. It was really good to get some of your questions and to enlighten a little bit around, let's say, the business case and the economic potential. So I would want to thank everybody for being here. I think that we got to the end of the webinar at this point. All of the materials are still on the platform to read through the business cases or, let's say, the market research. Like said at the beginning, there's still 2 weeks in order to invest into smart nanotubes in this round. Yeah, that's it for tonight. So thanks everybody. And I hope to see you joining as an investor into smart nanotubes